Join us as we follow the moon. Today, I'm doing a rainy day project. Now, a lot of times we think that when we go full-time that we can't have all the hobbies that we wanted or that we've had since we were kids. And one of the things I've always enjoyed doing is sewing. And one of the things I have enjoyed sewing the most is for Maggie. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things over here just so you can get an idea of just how much of that I've done. Now, these are all things. Maggie started out, she was an in-between size. She couldn't wear the clothes that were mediums because they were too small. She couldn't do the large because they were way too big. So I started checking out the thrift stores and going through and finding discarded items that I can't imagine somebody discarding, but I guess kids do grow out of clothes, don't they? So I have picked out things that were very simple to alter to turn into things that Maggie could wear. And the way that I do that is that I cut these openings and I put them on her backwards. Now, in a lot of these things, you'll notice that there are little edgings. And that's the one thing that I want to show is how to do this so that your edgings go around and don't just stop. As I go down here, this is one that I just recently did. And these all have a simple straight line. These over here, you'll notice they're widening out more. And so they're going to be a little more complicated to get, let's get over here, to get those edgings to go around. And you also have to remember that they're not wearing them up and down like this. They're going to be wearing them straight across. So let me show you how I do that. Now, as we all know, sewing can have a lot of stuff involved and it can make quite a mess. So what I have tried to do is keep my mess a little more organized, and I do store all of this up over the bed. And this is a bag that I've got that I put my sewing machine in when I'm not using it. It has pockets that I can put things in, but if you sew, you know those little pockets aren't going to hold that much. So I do have projects, little project bags. I keep some stuff in a box. That's something I'm going to work on for myself. And extra stuff that you might need. And I keep it in these clear bags. These are just the bags that you get blankets and sheets and stuff like that in. But that way I can see through. And I've also got it organized into little containers so that I can tell what's in there. Now, you can do a lot of different things. This is something I've done, and we're not going to go into this so much, but I've actually taken little onesies with the sleepers legs in them and done them too, and they're basically the same idea, but it is a little more complicated working in those areas around the legs. All the little t-shirts. Some t-shirts you don't have to do anything to. Some t-shirts I'll clip around the tummy. The main thing with a lot of the long sleeve t-shirts is they're too long. So I do have a way of being able to clip them so that you can still get the little seam, the little edging that goes around the wrist. Now, this is a dress that I have chosen to use today. And I will show you on the back here, there are things that you're going to want to look for to see what you're going to be working around. This one has buttons down and it actually goes clear down to here, so I want to make sure that I keep that included. I believe I have enough room there that I can do that. I may have to go up higher, but I'll see. You'll notice also there's some pleats here, and those pleats were also in the front. And because I wanted this to hang more straight the way the other dresses hung, I've gone ahead and hand stitched them together. Now we see this, that's how we determine what the dress is going to look like. And yet for putting on a dog, this is what we want to see. Is it going to be long enough? Also their front legs don't go out to the side, they come out to the front. So we just kind of want to pay attention and make sure this is all going to work. Notice how long that hangs. That's why we're actually going to cut a bunch of this out so that, oops, that's, yes, on that side. Bunch of this out so that that won't actually be there. Now, this right here is actually the one I'm going to use as a pattern. And you'll notice when I turn it sideways, how it hangs, it's going to drape, and you can see this is all cut away now. And if you'll notice the little ruffle around here, we're going to try and keep the brown ribbon that's at the bottom to go around there as well. So I'm going to show you how to do that too. Plus we had to cut these sleeves off, and the way you do that to keep that ruffle, I'll show you how we do that too. So this is my pattern, and this is the dress. So I want to make sure, first of all, that I have my side seams lined up just perfectly. And then I will take this and I'll smooth it down. And this is going to become over the top of the back, and this will be the front over here. I like to turn the sleeve inside out and fold it into the other sleeve, and that way it's kind of just out of the way, and it also helps to line that side seam up. So once I know that I've got the side seam up, which it does match on there, then I just pull this on down. Now you can do this, you can do a lot of pinning, and I will probably do a little bit, but let's just see how we go first. Now taking this one, I'm going to lay it right over, and I'm going to go ahead and turn one of those sleeves out, inside out, and move it into the other one the same way I did that other one. So now I've got the front of the dress, and I line up the side seams on this one. And there I've got my pattern. The length should be pretty good. And this one, the side seam comes here. I'm going to want to bring this. You notice this was actually cut into a little more of a gathered around up under here and stretched out further around. So I got this seam going here and this one here, but that's okay. This is going to come around like this and come up and come around to the middle of this one. That's another thing to watch, is that your middle seam here is good. Now notice this one has a little placard here with the buttons, so that offsets the center back a little bit. So that's going to be all right, because the little seams here, they match up. I'm just going to lay this here, tuck that sleeve out of the way, and this is where the cutting begins. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I save this, because it's going to come around the dress and come up here. So I give myself enough room to have a seam, and you can do it however close you feel like you're comfortable making a seam. I don't mind it being real close, but I want to have enough space there to sew into here. So I'm going to cut up a little bit of a ways here just to give myself that seam. And I'm going to cut across here. It's pretty scary sometimes when you go to cut into something that's already done. And I'm going to cut it across to here. And I want to make sure I have enough room for a seam here. Straighten that out a little bit. And I'm going to cut just a little bit below that to make sure I've got plenty of room for seam there. Just cut around that curve and down the seam. There's excess fabric. Now the other thing I want to do here, now that I've got this done, is take right in the very middle of it, because obviously as I come around here, it's not going to come up into this area. So I'm going to want to eventually taper this, but for right now I'm just going to cut it right in the center. And we're good. All right, now that I've gotten those cut, then I'm basically going to fold this over, and by doing that I'm going to have to take this seam and pin it or sew it along here to make a point here, so that as this comes around it will work in better. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this. And then when I get up to the tip here, I'm going to have that also come to a point. I'm also pinning these in the direction away from me. The sewing machine, the needle will be coming here. So I'm actually pinning that so that as it goes through the machine, I'm not trying to pull the pins out backwards. And then when I get up to here, this one actually needs to come to a point. Pin it back just a little ways, because then the next side, this part right here, is going to be folded under and stitched. So those I'll work in while I'm actually sewing. And now I'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, so I have this all pinned together now, and as I came across this part up here, I simply folded it down once as opposed to rolling the hem because of the bulk of the fabric. That'll have to be sewed on one side, while this will have to be sewn on the other, so I won't be able to do a complete sewing around it, but it'll all work out fine. Now, the other thing that I want you to be aware of is that the sleeves have to be trimmed back. Her little legs aren't going to fit that way. They don't work the way a human's arms can go out to the side. They can go above their head. With dogs, they can only come forward like this. And when I put them on her, I actually have to bring her legs up and fold her paws down like this and then put them in. And I'll show you that later. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to trim this, cut this seam down on both sides, and I will, when I start sewing, then I'll sew those open a little bit to make it easier to put on her. So I'm ready to do that. All right, the last thing I did here in my clipping and pinning is I opened up the sleeve and I took it down below the little waistband, and I just simply folded those back. You don't have to do this all fancy handiwork because you're making this for the dog. She'll be walking on the ground. You'll never see all of that. So I think that that is going to be big enough. If you find that you have to open it up more, I would say take a long stitch in here, and when you've got it stitched in and everything else is done, go ahead and try it on her if you have to open it up a little bit more than you can and not have to worry about taking out stitches. All right, so I'm ready to sew. to try it on her. Alright, so we are ready to put the little dress on. And I want to show you how easy it goes on. Whether Maggie thinks this is easy or not. I lift her chin through the neck. Now when I fold her leg so that her paw is up against it, and it goes in a little bit easier. Believe it or not, she will help me do this. But today she's more interested in showing me how much she loves me. So I reach my hand in, pull her other leg through, and stand up. Show everybody how pretty it is. Come on, stand up, Maggie. We got it on her. Okay, so I want to thank you for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. And ring the notification bell so you know when new content comes out. If you like this video, please be sure and give us a thumbs up. And thank you for following us as we follow the moon. Maggie's happy because I got a new dress out of this.
Thanks for watching today.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel.
And be sure to ring the notification bell so you'll know when new videos come out.
Don't forget to follow us on social media too.